A large explosion called the Divine Strake test was scheduled to be detonated on June 2, 2006 at the Nevada test site, 65 miles north of Las Vegas. The Nevada test site is a location where over the course of 4 decades more than 900 nuclear tests were conducted in the desert. The controversial Divine Strake test will detonate 700 tons of chemical explosives buried 20 feet below ground. The test will simulate the destructive effects of shock waves from a low-yield nuclear weapon on underground bunkers with the goal of creating the least collateral damage. Both Los Alamos and Sandia National Laboratories in New Mexico participated in developing the Divine Strake test. Data collected from the test will be used to continue work on the design, construction, and use of new nuclear weapons. Citizens who have heard about the Divine Strake test continue to ask, why are we doing this? Members of the Western Shoshone, the most nuked nation in the world, denounce the Divine Strake test as an affront to Mother Earth and to indigenous peoples worldwide. Downwinders, those who suffered serious adverse health effects as a result of radioactive fallout from decades of nuclear testing at the Nevada test site, feared the massive blast would lift toxic radioactive materials from past nuclear explosions into the air, spreading across the country to contaminate their lives once again. Advocates for peace from around the country pronounced the Divine Strake test a significant step towards a new nuclear arms race that would encourage other countries to acquire nuclear weapons of their own. On May 26, 2006, the National Nuclear Security Administration announced that the Divine Strake test would be delayed indefinitely due to the public's need for more information about the potential environmental and health effects from the blast. Activists declared the postponement a small victory. However, the issues they've raised haven't gone away. Why do you perceive this as a victory?
I believe this is a victory because we asked the government, or we said to the government, it is so simple to do things the right way. Why do you persist in always doing it the wrong way? Maybe they heard our message. Now they're going to do it the right way. We hope it's going to take them 2 years to do a full-blown environmental impact statement. That's what needs to happen. We need to have the kind of experts in there to assure people in Utah, in Idaho, in Montana, and points east that this is okay and you don't have to worry that you're going to have to watch your family members die, that you're going to have to worry about maybe getting cancers that they will prove or not prove came from this test. So they're going to have to do that kind of testing on that site. Again, it's a victory as far as our foreign policy, because right now we know that they're not going to be able to do anything that's going to be modeling nuclear bunker busters or mini nukes. Maybe the one part that isn't quite a victory yet, and that's still, out there in the court of public opinion and in the Congress, is the disposition of the Western Shoshone's rights to the land. I'm one of those people that believe that the Western Shoshone claim of their land, which is the Nevada test site and which is Yucca Mountain, could eventually be the one thing that saves us from any more testing and from bringing nuclear waste to Yucca Mountain. So, the United Nations Committee on Eliminating Racial Discrimination have found that the Western Shoshone have been discriminated against. In my heart, I feel the same. And so I'm hoping that at some point we'll find that resolve. And I'm not sure that this postponement indefinitely solves that. Again, we'll have to see.
I've been coming here to the Western Shoshone territories for years and helping to support them in their concerns about the military testing, the after effects of environmental health impacts of the the Cold War experimentation with the bomb testings, as well as the grazing right issues, the mining issues, protection of our water. There's two issues that I find that a lot of people in America don't understand. Is that many of the tribes around here, both Paiute and Shoshone, they have this concept that of being the original custodians of this land, or the guardians of this land. That understanding is integrated into many of the indigenous tribes throughout North America, especially in the United States. We have our own traditional teachings and many of the interpretations of the different tribes. We talk about what could be interpreted as natural laws that guide us. Okay, we have responsibilities for those indigenous people that still maintain language, that still maintain culture and ceremony, is that we have a responsibility to protect the sacredness of our Mother Earth. That was something that was given to us as a responsibility, a collective responsibility as peoples, with the S on peoples. And that's part of having self-determination. That's part of sovereignty. We have inherent sovereignty as indigenous peoples. We were sovereign before the United States came here and colonized these territories. Okay, so we enter, many of our indigenous tribes throughout America, we enter into high-level treaty agreements with the United States. Treaties are very important to this day, is that we, through the treaty agreements with the United States, we retain our inherent right there. The United States never gave us any rights. They never gave us sovereignty. We retain sovereignty, our inherent rights. But rights to us is responsibility. That's what it means, is responsibility. We have a responsibility to protect this land, to protect our air, the water, the soil, protect the fire that we use, which is our culture. So to us, that's responsibility. Okay? If we can get people throughout the world to understand that concept, that this is my mother, and she has to be able to sustain us, and we have to be able to respect that. I think that if we put more environmental ethics into the way we live, rather than have economics be a priority, which is very important to many of our communities, indigenous and non-indigenous. But we have a society who elevates economics over the environment. Okay, so it's not balanced. So now we are looking now for communities who are starting to integrate our traditional economy systems. Okay, and we got to look at how capitalism plays a part in decisions that we make as Americans, and we have to reevaluate how capitalism is out of step with the spiritual forces of Mother Earth in order to feed a capitalist addiction, which is consuming too much. We keep the lights on too much. We want a bigger house, we want a bigger car, we want to travel further. You know, these are things that we're starting to learn as all Americans and as all human beings, that the world cannot sustain our addiction to consumption. When there was a call for action by the Western Shoshone people to bring people to call attention to this divine strike, along with the peace activists, the downwinders, and a lot of people who understand what's going on here and the serious nature of it, there was a call for action that went out all through America and globally. Okay, we're connected now through electronic communication. These emails went all over the world, asking people to put pressure on the U.S. government, on the military, to send postcards, to send emails and faxes and make phone calls to political representatives. And I feel that that has made impact. Okay, from our history in working with situations like this, with industry, with environmental injustice issues, sometimes at the last minute, they say, well, everything's fine, we're hearing you, we're going to postpone a decision. Okay, and sometimes that reason is just to kind of quiet down the situation and buy time. Okay, I think the government was really, concerned that there's going to be masses of people here. you know, and politically it could do some damage to the administration where they're at right now. Okay, because there's a lot of attention now on the president and this administration to be held accountable.
Tell us who you are and why you're out here today.
My name is Louis Vitale. I'm a Franciscan. I have been involved out here, involved in the anti-nuclear movement, since I got out of the service when we were doing nuclear stuff. We started having, first we had demonstrations at the Atomic Energy Commission downtown because we couldn't get all the way out here. We had some little children and we gathered to pray each time they did a test that we knew about. Then we started coming out here for the tests, and the Franciscans in 1982, it was the 800th anniversary of the birth of St. Francis, decided that they really had to give witness to peace as St. Francis did. So all during Lent, which is generally around a little earlier than this time of year in the spring, we did, before Easter, we would have people out here every day for the 40 days vigiling, and on Good Friday we began to do like what they call Stations of the Cross, and we would go down the road towards the test site and thinking of, you know, this is kind of like a crucifixion of the world, and would proceed and end up getting arrested. And those days they'd give us a few days in jail the first time, and then they'd pick it up and pick it up and pick it up if you kept doing it. In the beginning we only did it like once a year. Then we started doing it more often and more often. And so I probably got arrested. Well, I remember a long time ago Captain Merlino saying to some reporter that who asked him how many times he had arrested me, and he said, "I'm sure it's over 100, so I don't know." After a while it got so we overfilled the jails here, and they just stopped putting us in jail. They just put us in the cage there and give us a citation. But anyway, that's so I kind of continue the tradition because they are still testing, so we should still be protesting. They are not doing explicit below ground tests. They're only doing what they call subcritical tests because of the pressure, I believe, that we put on them, and the Congress won't allow them to do it. And so I feel that necessity to keep coming here and saying no to this, because if we don't, they will just escalate, escalate, escalate. And the arms race is as alive as ever, and much more dangerous than it ever was. And if somebody crosses that line, it may well be the end of creation as we know it. We signed the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and which means that no new countries should become nuclear nations, and those who already were nuclear nations would be getting rid of their weapons. So every time we test a new weapon, we're doing exactly the opposite. It's a slap in the face to the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty. And it also, if it's a bunker buster thing, if it's a new type weapon, it's going to encourage those nations that do have them to develop those now. And, you know, there we go again.
Clearly, we're sending a signal to the rest of the world that weapons of mass destruction are a good idea. And how can our government be saying, oh, well, we need to get the weapons of mass destruction out of the hands of people who are going to use them, when that's what we're doing? And this weapons test is to help design the bunker buster nukes, which they make it sound like, since it isn't going to be a complete global cataclysm, let's just do a little nuclear war. You know, there's no such thing as a little nuclear war. I mean, we can't do this to the generations that come after us. That's just the height of irresponsibility. This is just, it's like all of this has such an inertia, and it's rolling on its own power, and we have got to stop it somewhere and start getting that back towards being something about life, being about, you know, caring for what's going to happen to the future generations. Because if we don't, this is just gaining so much momentum, there isn't going to be future generations. And it sounds like an exaggeration until you start understanding how all of these resources are going towards this destruction, and it's not like this is slowing down. It's gaining speed, and it's sucking up so much of our time, our energy, and it's got to stop. It just has to stop.
Because of the protests, the Congress doesn't let them do anything that has to do with testing. So they wanted to test a nuclear bunker buster, and they cut the money for that. So they come up with this subterfuge. Well, this is not a nuclear one. This is conventional, 700 tons. Well, they already have done very large conventional tests here. They know conventional tests. They know what they do. They really want to be doing the testing for the nuclear bunker buster, and this is as close as they can come. So just as Congress said no to them with the nuclear bunker buster, we have to say no to the simulations of nuclear bunker busters. And anything to do with, in any way, nuclear weapons, we're ready to protest. With Nevada Desert Experience, we're ready in a minute. The fact is, this is the most bombed place in the world. There's been 1,000 nuclear bombs set off here at Nevada Test Site. A number of them above ground before President Kennedy signed the limited test ban treaty. About 185 of them were above ground. The rest have been below ground, but they have leaked. And so I have talked to people that are experts here who will tell you they themselves have no idea where the radioactive material is, what are the dangerous areas, and it's very dangerous out there, and it's filled with radiation. So setting off this thing to see how big a blast they can make, how much of the earth they can blow up with this 700 tons of TNT, the chemicals, and the chemicals themselves are probably toxic. But and they're saying it's going to create this mushroom cloud. Well, then the mushroom cloud is going to have fallout of radiation that's there from other tests, even if they're not putting out any explicit radioactive material. The previous tests will then be thrown out for the downwinders in Utah, and the people that are living in Utah are here protesting because they don't want more of that nuclear rain. So it's very, very dangerous.
What would you ask people to do to try and stop this kind of thing from happening?
Well, to try to stop this kind of thing, we've been asking people to come out here today and demonstrate. If they reschedule the test, then we will have other events, including the day they intend to do it, and to join in that. But in the meanwhile, to write to Congress people and tell them, you know, the wool is being pulled over their eyes, that they voted no to a nuclear bunker buster test, and we're getting a subterfuge of it, which has perhaps some of the same dangerous effects, both in terms of escalation of into nuclear weapons, because it's really a simulation of a nuclear weapon, and, as I said before, the radiation that might fall. So it's very dangerous, and we would encourage people doing everything they can to try to stop it.
So now we understand the divine strike. If they're allowed to do what they're doing, especially burying into the earth through these tunnels and exploding all this, it goes into the air. It goes and drifts from the wind. So that contamination that has been settled into the earth, okay, is now going to get disturbed and affect the bodies of many people, but also livestock. It can resettle back into the plants, drift wherever the winds go. Okay, these are the invisible and the silent toxic and radiation poisons that's created by military industrialization as well as the nuclear industry. This is something we can't see. So it's very hard for people to see the damage that could be done. This is why we were demanding an environmental impact statement be done, a full-blown EIS. But why is it that we have a government and this military industry that don't have to follow these laws? These laws were established by people like you and me who demanded environmental protection, because we had a situation in the late 60s and early 70s where Lake Erie, you can light it on fire because of the toxics. Where we were in a situation in the early 70s where we needed environmental protection. And later, as we learned as citizens that these corporations were not being held accountable, including the military, because we got military toxics here in Nevada And we got military toxic contamination in Alaska with what's called formerly used defense facilities, FUDs. Okay, we got damaged land. So it's been very hard holding these corporations and the military industry accountable as we the people. As we found out about these contaminations, a lot of U.S. citizens were totally upset and pissed off. And that's why we have community right to know laws now. Okay? And we're at a point where under this administration that some of those laws are starting to be changed and watered down. And that's why here there needs to be a full-blown EIS, and that's something people can write about. They can tell the government, the representatives, that we want to have an environmental impact statement to really look at what potential damage could there be if they get away with doing this bomb test.
My name is Judy Rojo, and I'm a Shoshone Indian, and I also have other mixtures of blood, and I'm totally 100% Indian. I'm Shoshone, Paiute, Pit River, and Maidu. The reason I'm here today is because this is Shoshone land, Shoshone country, and we have an ongoing battle with the government not allowing us to perform all of our traditional things that we've done for centuries. You know, our people have a connection with Mother Earth and, you know, this environment.
You know, tell me what you're doing to try to stop this.
Well, we've entered into a lawsuit with other parties, and the attorney that's representing us is Bob Hager, and he's out of Reno. We just need to tell the government to stop and desist. To do this is threatening the livelihood of all peoples, not just the Shoshone Nation. And I believe that this is important because of the pollution, that if this bomb blast does happen, then it could pollute a lot of things. It could pollute us as a people, the land, the wildlife, plants, water. You know, once that is gone, it's gone. And so I think this is important. And I believe that we are a peaceful people. We just need to have the attention of all, of the whole world, actually, because of the fact that the government feels that they can do whatever they choose to do when they feel like it, no matter who it hurts, no matter whose land it's on. And why Nevada? Why Shoshone Nation? Why the Shoshone land? You know, this is our homeland. This is our territory. And for them to just not have any regard for that is the reason I'm here.
How does it make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel raped. It makes me feel threatened. It makes me feel like, what are we doing to our Mother Earth? We consider this our mother. You know, our peoples are buried inside of Mother Earth. And for them to have no regard and just blast away at what is underground from us is not right. The only thing that I can honestly say is this, and that is, if they have that kind of money to do this kind of test, then why can't they invest all of that in the people of this land?
My opinion about this Divine Strike is, first of all, you have a lot of subcontractors and government contractors out there that want this done. And it basically just boils down to finance of it. You know, the full spectrum of finance. Who loses out, who wins, who gets the contracts, and what have you. And basically it's wrong to look at it from a financial point of view. The total, I saw the number, and it was pretty close to $23 million, this whole test, from its inception to the explosion part to the post-operation of it. From pre to post, this whole operation had a price tag of $23 million. And that's just one test, you know, and it's amazing because If you look at the Western Shoshone were given $26 million. They were awarded $26 million for all this land. And then you have one test on it that has a net worth of $23 million. It's, you know, you gotta think that out a little. What is it worth? You can't put a price tag on this here. There's no price tag. You know, when God or Creator created it, there's no price tag on it. It's there. It's there for me. It's there for you, and anybody that might want to use it too. So, you know, we really have to reconsider and think things out here. It just seems that it's something that we should not even be playing with, or even think about playing. And so the important thing is to get this broadcasted out there to as many people as possible, because they don't know. They just think that nuclear is something that is uranium. It's kind of like a cold. You get it, then it goes away. It doesn't. It stays with you. It changes and alters your DNA, and your children, your children's children, if any of that goes down the road. So, yeah, it's vitally important for us to put that message out there. Not only doing this as Western Shoshone, but it just so happens that anything that's pretty close or remote to third world are always getting shafted in one way or another, either by gold mining or some kind of precious metal, or just dumping nuclear waste on there. And it saddens me sometimes.
I feel very connected to the land. I always have, and I always will. It's in the DNA.
I think people should continue to read between the lines, and people need to do research. They need to also look to a lot of the organizations that have been working on these. There's a lot of information out there that you don't pick up in the main media. And there's organizations like Citizens Alert, the Western Shoshone National Council, many organizations where you can get information about what's really going on. I think people need to not trust the media, okay? People need to read between the lines and steady on what's going on here, because I think there's a big cover-up here on what the real issues are, you know, with this bomb. I think some of the issues here is perpetuating the same militarism that's been happening. We need to hold our government accountable. We need to contact our legislators. You need to contact your political representatives and tell them that you want some accountability here, that you want this bomb to stop, you know, that if it's been postponed, we want it to be postponed indefinitely. Mother Earth deserves it. Our future generation deserves it. That's what we're doing here. We're protecting all of our future generation, native and non-native. We want to have a safe planet, a healthy planet, and we want to be able to just live in a good, healthy way.
We should try peace. That's what we should try again, and hopefully it has to work for humanity to live out